Before we begin, I invite you to gently close your eyes. Let your shoulders loosen, your breath soften, and allow the noise of the day to melt away slowly, quietly, like mist dissolving into the morning light. In this moment, you don't have to rush. You don't have to think. You don't have to be anywhere else. Just be here, with the gentle rhythm of your breathing and the soft whisper of my voice guiding you. Feel the cool air as it enters and the warm air leaving your body. Let each breath carry away a weight you no longer need to hold. Let the mind settle, like dust drifting down to a quiet floor. Tonight, as you listen, imagine that every sound you hear is a friend, a soft presence reminding you that you are safe, you are grounded, you are enough. With every inhale, imagine a small light forming in your chest. Warm, steady, peaceful. And with every exhale, imagine it expanding slightly, filling your body with calm and your heart with ease. Now, let the world outside fade a little further. Let your thoughts drift as gently as clouds moving across an endless sky. There is nothing to chase, nothing to fix, nothing to hold on to. Just this moment. Simple, quiet, pure. And from this place of stillness, we will begin our story. A story whispered in the language of silence, in the rhythm of breath, and in the soft footsteps of mindfulness. Whenever you're ready, allow yourself to be carried into the tale that follows. Story 1: The Last Notification. Evan Carter was a 28-year-old software engineer living in the heart of New Metro, a city where lights never dimmed and phone notifications echoed louder than birds. His days were swallowed by deadlines, messages, virtual meetings, and apps constantly begging for attention. He liked to think he was building the future, but in truth, he was simply drifting farther away from himself. One late night, while Evan was typing lines of code, his phone lit up again. Ping! A message from his manager. Ping! A new email. Ping! Another reminder. He felt his head buzzing like an overheated machine. He stepped out onto his balcony to breathe, but the rush of the city only made him more restless. That was when he noticed a small sign on the building across the street. Urban Zen Center. Meditation in the heart of the city. He scoffed. Meditation? I barely have time to sleep. Yet the next morning, as if guided by a quiet force, Evan found himself standing in front of that very center. Urban Zen Center wasn't what he expected. No incense, no statues, no dim lanterns. Just a clean, minimal room with wide glass windows overlooking traffic. A gentle-looking man with silver hair greeted him. Welcome. I'm Master Rowan. You're here because your mind is tired, yes? Evan hesitated. I wanted to try something new. Rowan nodded knowingly. Then we begin with the hardest part. turn off your phone." Evan blinked. "But I need it for work." "Which is precisely why you must turn it off." Reluctantly, Evan placed his phone inside a wooden box. Rowan led him to a meditation mat. The city roared outside, yet the room felt strangely still. "Tell me, what do you hear?" Rowan asked. "Cars, horns, people talking?" "And do you think meditation means escaping all that?" Evan didn't answer. Rowan continued, "Meditation is not about silencing the world. It is about finding silence within yourself, even when the world is loud." He instructed Evan to close his eyes and follow his breath. At first, his mind was a messy marketplace. Ideas, worries, emails, notifications, all shouting over each other. He almost gave up. "Just observe," Rowan whispered. "You don't need to fight anything. Let thoughts appear like clouds. They will pass." Slowly, they did. Minutes later, Rowan asked, "And now, what do you hear?" Evan listened. "The same noises, but they don't bother me anymore. They just exist." Rowan smiled. "The outer world didn't change. You changed the way you meet it." When the session ended, Evan retrieved his phone. The screen exploded with unread notifications. Rowan asked, "Which one will you open first?" Evan thought for a moment. "Only the ones that actually matter. The rest don't control me anymore." "Good," Rowan said. "Every notification is only a door. You choose which ones you walk through. Freedom begins there." That night, Evan returned home and set his phone aside without turning it on. He brewed tea, sat by the window, and watched the neon city melt into darkness. The world hadn't changed. His job hadn't changed. Life hadn't suddenly become peaceful. But he had. His mind no longer chased every sound the world threw at him. And that was the last notification he ever truly needed.
Story 2: The Quiet Algorithm. Caleb Turner, a young software engineer, had just joined a prestigious AI company. The work was intense, competition fierce, and everyone moved like time was running out. Caleb was no different. Fast meals, short nights, endless tasks. But beneath all that pressure, he felt a growing emptiness. One night, while debugging a new prediction model, Caleb hit a dead end. No matter what he changed, the algorithm refused to work. Frustrated, exhausted, he walked out of the office and wandered to a small park behind the building. There he saw an elderly man with silver hair quietly watching a trail of ants. This was Master Ellison, known among the employees as the wise hermit living behind the company. Without looking up, Ellison said, "Your head seems heavier than your shoulders can bear." Caleb sighed. "I'm stuck on something, and I'm running out of time." "Ah, time," Ellison chuckled softly. "Nothing makes a problem look bigger than a noisy mind." Caleb sat beside him. "I just can't fail this. They're counting on this model." "Do you know why the smartest algorithms begin with the simplest structure?" Ellison asked. Caleb shook his head. Because complexity is born from simplicity. Humans do the opposite. They make things complicated and call it intelligence. He pointed at the ants. Look at them. None tries to do everything. They take their step, one at a time. No rush, no rivalry. Yet the whole system is perfect. Something loosened inside Caleb. So what do I do? Quiet your mind first. Only then will you see what you've overlooked. Ellison guided him to close his eyes and focus on his breath. At first, his mind was a messy storm of variables, deadlines, and pressure, but Ellison's voice whispered, "Let your thoughts run like code. Observe without fixing. They will settle." Slowly, the noise dissolved. When Caleb opened his eyes, the world felt lighter. Back at the office, he looked at the code again. Suddenly, the issue became obvious. A small oversight drowned out by stress. Just a few corrections, and the model ran perfectly. His manager was amazed. "How did you fix it so quickly?" Caleb smiled. "I became quieter." That night, watching the city lights stretch beneath him, Caleb realized something profound. Life, like an algorithm, only becomes complicated when the mind is complicated. But when the mind grows silent, clarity emerges. Story 3. The City of Echoes. Mia Robinson worked in media, a world where everyone talked but few truly listened. She lived in Aurora, a city shimmering with noise, horns, voices, screens, ads, footsteps, a never-ending echo. Lately, Mia felt something strange. Whenever she spoke to someone, at work, with friends, even her boyfriend, she felt unseen, unheard, like her words dissolved before reaching anyone. But then she realized she wasn't listening either. After a stressful meeting one evening, Mia walked across a bridge. Below the glowing skyline, she saw a middle-aged man meditating calmly amid the chaos. This was Master Hayden. "How can you meditate with all this noise?" Mia asked. He smiled gently. "Do you think meditation is about escaping sound?" "Isn't it?" she said. "If meditation only works in silence, it's useless in the real world." He gestured at the rushing traffic. "Meditation doesn't erase noise. It prevents noise from swallowing you." Mia hesitated. "I can't hear anyone anymore. Every conversation feels empty, like an echo." "In a city of echoes, only the quiet person truly hears," Hayden replied. He guided her to close her eyes. "Don't listen with your ears. Listen with your presence." At first, the city roared, but slowly the layers peeled back. Wind brushing the railings, footsteps behind her, water tapping the stone pillars, sounds she had never noticed. "Do you hear differently now?" Hayden asked. "Yes, everything feels clearer. When your mind quiets, the world becomes honest. And when you hear the world, you will hear people." In the following days, Mia listened more intentionally, pausing, breathing, receiving, and surprisingly, people started listening to her as well. Standing on the rooftop days later, she understood. The city was never too loud. She simply couldn't hear over the echo of her own thoughts. When she learned to be quiet, the world finally spoke back.
Story 4. The Weight of One Feather. Ethan Miller was known for one thing: taking on too much. If there were 10 tasks, he would accept all 10. No one asked him to, but Ethan constantly felt he had to prove something, perhaps to the world, or perhaps to himself.
During a meeting one afternoon, Ethan suddenly felt breathless, not from stress, but from a strange heaviness, as if a mountain had settled on his chest. He excused himself and sat in the hallway, struggling to breathe. A gentle voice spoke beside him. It belonged to Grace Allen, an elderly cleaning staff member. "You look like you're carrying the whole building," she said. Ethan forced a smile. "Just tired." "No, you're exhausted from something you can't see." She sat beside him and pulled out a small white feather. "Know how much this weighs?" "Almost nothing." "Correct. But if I place one on your shoulder, then another, then 100, then 1,000, could you bear it?" Ethan shook his head. "The tasks you pile on yourself are like this feather. One is light. 1,000 will break you." "But if I don't do them, who will?" Ethan said. "I don't want to disappoint people." "Are you sure people asked you to carry everything? Or is that just a voice inside your own mind?" Grace placed the feather in his hand. "What exhausts people isn't work. It's refusing to let go." That night, Ethan listed everything he carried: expectations, fears, doubts, insecurities. The list was long, far longer than he imagined. And many of those weights were never his to hold. The next day, he searched for Grace to thank her, but she was gone. A security guard explained she had only filled in for someone for 1 week. Ethan realized something. Those who appear at the right moment don't always stay forever. From then on, he practiced letting go, one feather at a time. And slowly, he became lighter than he had been in years. Story 5. The Lantern in the Rain. Noah Evans was a young photographer obsessed with light, but lately his heart felt dim. No matter how many photos he took, none stirred anything inside him. One rainy afternoon, wandering through the old district, Noah discovered a narrow alley filled with paper lanterns. Inside the small shop stood Master Rowan, an elderly man with warm, gentle eyes. "You keep your shop open in weather like this?" Noah asked. "Light is not lit for sunny days. It is lit for the dark." Noah stepped inside. "I'm a photographer, always chasing beautiful light, but recently I feel like beauty disappeared." "Beauty doesn't leave," Rowan said. "You just look with tired eyes." He lit a small lantern. Its warm glow reflected off the raindrops on the window. "What do you see?" "A lantern in the rain." "No, you see yourself." Noah blinked, confused. "When your heart is full of rain, the world appears drenched. When your heart glows a little, the world brightens with it. This lantern doesn't reflect the world, it reflects you." Suddenly, Noah noticed details he had ignored: the trembling flame, the glistening raindrops, the soft gold merging with the gray outside. Beauty hadn't disappeared, he had. A photographer does not chase light, a photographer becomes light. That evening, Noah took the best photos he had taken in months: reflections in puddles, glowing street lamps, umbrellas shimmering in the rain. Not because the city changed, but because he did. He titled the collection Lanterns in the Rain. And every time his heart grew dim again, he remembered Rowan's words: "A single lantern can brighten a storm."
Story 6. The Weight of Invisible Stones. Ethan was a designer in a restless city where lights never dimmed and traffic hummed like a constant heartbeat. Yet inside, his heart felt heavy, burdened by countless invisible stones.
These stones were stress, unspoken disappointments, quiet comparisons to others, and a loneliness he never admitted to anyone. One night, as he left the office at 11 p.m., he saw an elderly man sitting beside an old bicycle. The man displayed a basket of stones, gray, brown, smooth, rough. He smiled gently. "Would you like to trade your burdens for a stone?" Ethan chuckled. "I already have too many stones." The old man shook his head. "No, no, this is an ancient ritual. When a person picks a stone, they speak their burden aloud, and when they put it back, they must ask, 'Do I still need to carry it?'" Curiosity nudged Ethan closer. He picked up a pale gray stone, cool and smooth. "My burden," he whispered, "is feeling like I'm never good enough." The old man nodded, silently, listening with deep compassion. Ethan held the stone for a long moment, then set it back down. As his fingers released it, something inside him loosened. "Do you still wish to carry it?" the old man asked softly. "Maybe, no," he breathed. He reached again, this time choosing a dark brown stone. "I compare myself too much. Everyone seems better than me." Placing the stone down, he sighed. "Maybe I don't have to compare anymore." Stone by stone, he named each burden and released it. The basket remained full, but Ethan's heart grew lighter. Before he left, the old man said, "People carry stones inside without knowing. Once they learn to put them down, even in the mind, the road ahead becomes easier." The next day, Ethan returned. The old man and his bicycle were gone. Only the empty ground remained, and the new understanding he carried. He had learned to release. From that day on, whenever stress returned, Ethan placed a hand over his chest and asked, "What stone am I holding? Do I really need it?" And slowly the world felt lighter. Story 7. The Room of Quiet Echoes. Olivia was a sound producer in the entertainment industry, surrounded by noise every day. Music, voices, meetings, deadlines, and the constant buzz of social media. One day, overwhelmed to the point of collapse, she received a strange message. "If noise exhausts you, come to the room of quiet echoes." A mysterious address followed. Curiosity led her there. The room was empty, white walls, no equipment, no lights, only a young man named Daniel meditating in the center. He opened his eyes. "Welcome. What do you hear?" Olivia answered instantly, "Nothing." Daniel shook his head. "No, listen deeper." She closed her eyes. Slowly, she began hearing things she had never noticed. Her own breathing, her soft heartbeat, the faint rustle of her clothes, a thin wisp of wind through the door, and a deep quiet she felt she could almost touch. Daniel said softly, "People run from silence, but when you avoid silence, you avoid yourself." He handed her a small device, not headphones, but silent headphones, completely shutting out external noise. He said, "This isn't for listening outward, it's for listening inward." No sound came from it, yet the world outside vanished. Olivia trembled, not from fear, but from the realization of how long she had been avoiding her own inner voice. She heard old worries, self-blame, the longing for rest, all echoing clearly as if they were real sounds. She began to cry. "How do I live with all this?" Daniel replied, "Don't silence them. Listen until they dissolve." She sat for nearly an hour. All her life she had used noise to block out silence. Today, silence healed her. Before she left, Daniel said, "When noise overwhelms you, remember, quiet isn't outside, it is always within. You only need to return to it." Olivia stepped out of the room of quiet echoes lighter, calmer, renewed. From that day on, she devoted 10 minutes a day to listening to silence and listening to herself. The echoes inside her grew gentler, and her life quietly transformed.
Story 8. The Man Who Sold Sunsets. Lucas was a well-known photographer celebrated for his stunning sunset shots. People envied him, believing he lived surrounded by beauty. But the truth was, sunsets no longer moved him. Their colors faded in his eyes, like a song played too often. One evening, after a failed photo shoot, Lucas wandered into an old street and spotted a tiny shop with a strange sign: "Sunsets for Sale." Inside sat an elderly man with silver hair and eyes full of ancient calm. On the shelves were glass jars filled with warm, sunset-like glows. Lucas laughed. "You're really selling sunsets?" The old man smiled. "I don't sell light, I sell moments. Pick one." Lucas lifted a jar with the softest amber hue. When he opened it, no light escaped, only a delicate scent, like the breeze from his childhood home. "That," the old man said, "was a sunset you saw without trying to capture it. A sunset of freedom." Lucas froze. It felt like the man had reached into a forgotten part of his heart. He opened another jar. This time, he heard gentle waves. "That was a sunset you watched with someone you loved, but your mind wasn't present. You were thinking about work." Lucas lowered his head, guilt washing over him. "Why do you have these?" he whispered. "I don't," the old man replied. "They're yours. People lose beauty right in front of them, until they stop looking with their eyes and begin seeing with their heart." The shop fell silent. Then the old man handed Lucas an empty jar. "Take this. Don't fill it. Let the moment find you." That night, Lucas sat on his rooftop, the empty jar beside him, and watched the sunset without taking a single photo. He realized beauty hadn't disappeared, he had. The next day he returned to the shop, but it was gone. Only the empty jar remained, reflecting the soft gold of the evening sky. Lucas no longer chased sunsets. He welcomed them with a heart finally present. Story 9. The temple on the 5th floor. Maya lived on the 5th floor of an old apartment building. Her days were a blur of meetings, deadlines, and endless emails. She couldn't remember the last time she sat in true stillness. One evening, the elevator broke, forcing her to take the stairs. But on the 3rd floor, she heard a soft bell, gentle, airy. Curious, Maya climbed to the 4th. The sound grew clearer. On the 5th floor, a door stood slightly open. Inside was not an apartment, but a small meditation room glowing with warm amber light. A faint scent of sandalwood drifted through the air. A young man named Aaron sat meditating in the center. He opened his eyes and smiled. "Welcome. What are you looking for?" I heard a bell," Maya said awkwardly. "That was the breathing bell," Aaron explained. "It reminds us you are breathing, you are alive. People forget this all the time." Maya felt an unexpected calm settle in her chest. Aaron placed a small bronze bell between them. "This isn't just sound, it's a doorway. Want to try?" He rang it. Ting. The bell's tone lingered, then faded into silence like a drop of water dissolving into a still lake. When the sound disappears, your burdens disappear with it for at least one moment. Maya closed her eyes. Her shoulders relaxed, her neck softened, her breath slowed and deepened. For the first time in months, she felt whole. "Can I come back here?" she asked quietly. Aaron smiled. "This room doesn't belong to me. It belongs to anyone who needs silence." From that night on, Maya visited the little temple every evening, sitting, listening to the bell, gently releasing her tension. Until one day, she returned, and the room was gone. Just an ordinary apartment again, empty and unremarkable. At first, she panicked. Then she understood. The temple had moved inside her. Now, whenever stress rose, she simply listened for the inner bell. And she remembered, peace is always waiting on the 5th floor, the deepest floor within.
As the final story comes to rest, like a leaf settling on still water, we begin to see a gentle truth woven through every journey. Each character, Evan, Lena, Mason, Ariel, Noah, Evelyn, and all the others who walked their silent paths, was never searching for something far away. They were simply finding their way back to themselves. In the middle of bright cities, heavy schedules, quiet wounds, and invisible pressure, every person faced something deeply human: fear, exhaustion, loneliness, confusion, heartbreak, or a longing they could not name. Yet through pausing, breathing, and listening, they discovered what the world often hides behind its noise. Peace is not a place you reach. Peace is the way you walk. None of the teachers in these stories offered magic or guarantees. They didn't promise transformation. They didn't fix anyone's problems instantly. They simply pointed toward a small, gentle doorway, a doorway anyone can enter. The breath, awareness, honesty with oneself. Across all the stories, a single thread shines quietly. Pain is a part of life, but suffering is something we can learn to release. Happiness is not avoiding storms, but learning how to stay steady within them. You don't need to be perfect. You only need to be sincere. Compassion begins with not abandoning yourself. When you soften your gaze toward your own heart, the world softens too. From chapter to chapter, we see a successful but exhausted soul rediscovering joy through a single mindful breath. A wounded heart finding healing by turning toward the pain instead of running from it. A lost wanderer finding direction simply by stopping. A lonely person realizing that in silence there is a warm space waiting for them. All of these stories remind us that peace is not something given, it is something practiced, a gentle art shaped breath by breath. When we finally place our hand over our chest and listen with honesty, we understand what ancient teachers have whispered for centuries. There is no path to peace. Peace is the path. So if the world outside still feels loud, if your heart still trembles from time to time, remember this: you do not need to change who you are. You do not need to run anywhere. Just return to your breath. Return to yourself. Your peace has been waiting for you all along.